Hello, friends. I am in my children's room right now. Um, yeah. Perfectly imperfect. I'm just sitting here enjoying the natural light that comes from my kiddo's room and just enjoying that. As you can see the laundry, my kids' laundry on the floor behind me. We are teaching our kids right now about putting away their laundry. It is a process. And so a lot was hung up, which I'm really proud of them. They got a lot hung. They are 8 and 4. And so they are learning to hang up their clothes, to put things away when they're done with it, all of that. Like basically their clothes, putting away their clothes, folding them, hanging them up, putting them in the proper cubby, all of that stuff. And it's a work in progress. And hey, perfectly imperfect, right? That's the way it is. So, anywho, hello everybody. Um, I'm so excited to be talking with all of you today. I got my self care smoothie. So, today, as you notice, it's a different color and a different texture. It's a little bit more liquid than the last one, which was, I think, it was a lot more frozen, a lot more, I don't know how to say it, the texture, it wasn't as liquidy. But this actually came out really good. It looks deceiving. Well, because I added a half cup of spinach. So I did frozen mixed fruit, which is a medley of frozen strawberries, mango, and peaches, and pineapple. And then I also added a half cup of coconut yogurt, which is really good, like a vanilla coconut yogurt. And then I added a teaspoon, like pretty much like a little bit more than a teaspoon or so of flaxseed. And yes, blended this up, and this is what I got. And actually, it tastes really, really good. I really like it. I really, really like it. So, cheers. And then I also have for my self care snack seaweed. I love seaweed. Seaweed is really good. My kids love it. My husband loves it. This is like our family go to snack. It's not for everyone. Some people think it tastes kind of fishy or what have you, but I love it. I love seaweed. It's really, really tasty. And then I also have a oatmeal cranberry vegan cookie. Delicious. So that's my self-care smoothie and my self-care snacks. And I am ready to have a great connective conversation with all of you today. So this morning, well, let me back up. My last video slash episode, I was out of town. My husband and we went out of town for Valentine's weekend for like an overnight stay. It was really nice. And so I was able to do a video out there in Newport Beach and talked a lot about my reason why. Why am I doing this channel? Why is this a big deal to me? So you will be able to see that video as well, included with this one. So please watch that one as well, because that talks about why am I doing this to begin with? What is the point of this channel? And this morning I was thinking more about that. And so this is kind of like a slash part 2, a little bit touching on that. And then there's some other things that came up naturally that I wanted to talk about as well. And so, yeah, so it pertains to more or less my son. Hence, I'm in my kids' room, really feeling the vibe of my kids today. I love them. They're really good kids. I have an 8-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. They are at school right now. Don't you just love it when your kids are at school? It's good. Um, so my son, this morning we were talking on his way out. He was getting picked up. We're part of a really cool carpool program at his school, which I love it. So he was getting picked up by one of the parents, and he just looked really sad. He looked really just not himself. And so he shared with me that he doesn't like going to school and that he just doesn't like it. And I just felt, I don't like seeing my son, saying like he doesn't like school, and that I'm thinking, what's going on at school? Is someone like you're getting bullied? Like what's happening? And it wasn't anything like that. Thank God he's not getting bullied at school. He has some really great friends at school, actually. Excuse me. So his friendships are going well. All of that stuff is working out for him. But yeah, so he's just been, he hasn't been, he just hasn't really been enjoying school as of late. And so he basically was telling me that, reading and writing, those things are really challenging for him. Now, to give you a little bit of backstory, my son, he does have some learning differences. He does, one of those learning differences would be dyslexia, which it does make it difficult to process phenom sounds of letters and to really be able to read and memorize things and learn in that traditional capacity. So reading is a difficulty for him, recognizing some letters, and he works really hard. My son works really hard to learn his sight words. That's like a big thing we're working on right now, is him learning those different sight words. And it just brought up some fear for me, just as a mother, thinking ahead, thinking like about his future, thinking about, man, I really want my son to read well and be able to write and be able to communicate in that way. Because I do believe it's a big deal. Knowing how to read is a big deal. Knowing how to write well and clearly and being able to communicate that way is a really big deal. And I just feel for the guy. He's working really hard. He's in second grade. He's 8 years old. He's a great kid. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with the IEP. If with an IEP, if you have a child that has an IEP or special education receiving any of those services, it can be a doozy. It's a whole world to navigate. And it's been a road for me as a mom, just really understanding my rights as a mom, as a parent, like in the state of California, like what are my rights? How can I advocate for my son? I found a really great school for him. He's been going to for the last a little over a year. And it's a great school. It really is. What I love about this school that he goes to is that they really, not only is it welcoming, but they really celebrate my son. Like he's celebrated at his school. He's built up. His strengths are celebrated. And that just goes in line with what I believe with emotional intelligence and really knowing ourselves and knowing thus the importance of knowing what we have to give. And I'm so thankful that my son at 8 years old, he knows what his strengths are. He knows what he's good at. Like he was telling me this morning, all the things he can do really well. And he just wants to focus on that. He doesn't want to have to focus on the fact that he struggles with reading and writing. It makes me sad. And the reality is, there are things that we do that we focus on that we're not good at. I listen to him, and I'm a firm believer in not allowing my son's learning difference to be something that I make excuses for him in. Like, yes, this is how God made him, And this is what God has made him this way for a purpose. There's a purpose for my son. I believe that my God has a purpose for my children, and they have what they have for a very good reason. And the way that my son sees the world is amazing. I feel like with him having dyslexia, it just opens up other parts of his brain, and he's able to connect in ways that I'm not able to. The things that he's able to see and how he does process information, it's amazing how deeply he cares for people. My son is very empathetic. Like he cares so much for people, and that, to see my 8-year-old son that way, that makes me very, very, very proud and very happy for him in his life. He makes friends very well. He's very socially, I feel, gifted. He just gets people. He really loves deeply. And so I really focus on his strengths a lot. I really tell him what he's good at, but I also tell him, you must do this work. Like, this work is very important. We are not going to minimize this. Like, this is important. Knowing how to read and write is important. And so I'm a firm, that's just what it is. And so, this school is great. I feel like the environment he's in, hands down, it's awesome. Now, this school is expensive. It's a private school, but they call it a non-public school, which is private because we pay a tuition, and it's like we're paying for college. I mean, it's something else, So each year we're just like, okay, each semester or term that comes, like the fall, we have to be renewing because he starts 3rd grade, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's crazy, the things that we do for our children, the things that we advocate for them in. I mean, like I said in the last video, we women, we are amazing. Being a parent, man, it is the hardest thing, and it's also the most adventurous thing. It's like, I know, I just feel like even sitting in my kid's room right now, I'm just thinking like, man, I'm a mom. Like, I carried these kids, like they came from my body. How is this even possible? Oh man, like I'm allowed to have kids? Do you ever think that? Like, I have children. Okay, here we go. But then my daughter, she's like the total opposite. She loves school. Now, granted, she's in preschool, but this girl, how I know that she loves school, this girl gets sad when she has days off from school. This girl wants to do, she'll bring me these cards, has all these little brain games on them. She loves that. Like, she wants me to drill her, train her, do flashcards. She requests it. She wants me to sit with her and do flashcards. That's my daughter. That's my 4-year-old. Completely different. My son's like, Mama, I want to go make a movie. I want to create. I'm going to have businesses. I want to help homeless people. I want to do this and that. He's like, create, in his mind, he's just like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a business plan. And granted, my husband, has a business. And so he grows up seeing his dad building a business, building a company, working with employees and training. And so he has a very entrepreneurial mindset, my son. He's really wired in that way. My daughter is very studious. Academia fits her. She likes it a lot. And I'm just like, man, we really are different. Like, we're not all the same. They both came from my body, and they are so different. Not only are they different genders, but they are just different. And I'm so proud of them both. And I know all of you, my friends, you're proud of your kids too. I know you are. So I wanted to share that because I do have like a slight frustration with just the process when I think of taking him out of this private school and him going into the public school system. I mean, I grew up in the public school system. Our daughter, it goes to a public preschool. But when you do learn differently, like my son, it can be a nightmare. It can be a nightmare. Um, so I have some worries and concerns about that and some anxieties, just to be honest with all of you. I feel sometimes, like this morning, I felt a fear for my son. Like if we're not able to continue him at this school beyond, this next year, his third grade year, like what are we going to do for him? Like what can we offer him? So that's on my heart heavy right now because I just had this conversation with my son this morning. Um, and I spent some time in prayer about it and just reflecting and thinking and just like, man, this part is hard. But a part of me, another part of my why, back to that for doing this channel, my kids are part of that. I talk a lot to my children. Everything that I get, I put right back into them. Like every bit of information I receive on personal development, I give to them everything. And so they are a big part of my why for stepping out on faith and starting this channel and sharing myself, basically. Sharing myself as vulnerable and scary as I feel sometimes, or so like unqualified, like to even do this or share or feel like things have to be a certain way. I just remember like I am perfectly imperfect and I want to show them you don't have to be perfect. Do it perfectly imperfectly, if that's a word. Do it perfectly imperfectly. It doesn't matter, but just do it. Don't wait for all the chips to line up or whatever. Just do something. And that's what I tell my son right now because he's at that age where it's just like, if things are really hard or he's kind of like, oh, I don't like this, because he has a lot of talents, he has a lot of strengths. So this thing that's hard for him, reading, he's like, can I do something else? Because this is not what I want to do. And I relate. I think we all can. But that, I feel very strongly, I would be doing my son a disservice to just be like, oh no, don't worry about reading. Don't worry ever about reading. So I just been trying to find creative ways to help him because he's a very multi-sensory learner in his school, which I love. They do multi-sensory learning for him where he's learning, he's learning in a way that's just, it's amazing to me. Learning is amazing. Every time I go to a school, I'm just amazed at the freedom the kids have in the classroom, the different chairs they have for the kids, the different, just to match. Because my son, he also has ADHD, so he needs to get up sometimes and just walk around. Like he's not the kid that's gonna sit and just, be extra, that's not my son. My son is like standing on his head 1 minute, then he's jumping around the next, then he's sitting, then he'll bust out in a rap song. Like that's my son. Like he's just, no joke, it's entertainment. There is never a dull moment with that kid. He's just a walking musical theater production waiting to debut. So he needs those accommodations. He really does. And my fear is, oh my gosh, my fear is how is the public school going to support that in him? Going to really respect that about my son? I really believe kids are worthy of being respected. Yes, they're little. Yes, they're kids. They're our children. We raise them. But they need to learn that they are worthy of respect. My son and daughter, they're worthy of my respect as well. And I tell them that they are worthy of respect It's not just them. They're not just here to be, seen and not heard. Like their voice matters. In our home, their voice matters. And they will never get in trouble for telling me and their father the truth. Never. We will discuss what that truth is and we will learn from it. But I'm not going to punish you for telling me the truth. So yes, it's kind of like what's on my heart. This video is more on, this is really what's on my heart right now at the moment. My kitties, my kiddos. It's what I really appreciate about them, and my daughter, who I'll be picking up from school soon, and she is so fierce, my daughter. This girl is not afraid of saying no. She's just not afraid. I love that about her. So I'm just proud mom. And because of that, again, my why is because of that, I will not hold them captive. I will not, again, make them responsible for my happiness. I will not blame them for me not expressing my creativity. I want to be an example for them of expressing creativity and stepping out on faith and putting myself out there, because I want them to do that. I want them to fly, and I want them to have a mother who's willing to fly. So friends, that is my video today. I'm so thankful for you guys, honestly. Thank you for supporting me. Again, if this is your jam, like this video, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you can get notifications when I post new videos for all of you guys. I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you for supporting me. Let's continue to support and hold each other up. Have a blessed day.